Hi, I'm Lindy Whitten. Welcome to the studio. Today I'm going to talk briefly about setting up a good composition if you're doing a study of fruit or vegetables. So today I'm just going to talk about a little bit about composition and how to make an interesting painting. So if we think about a still life, painting an apple. So here's a photo of an apple, and it's quite interesting. And why is that quite interesting? It's because the apples are over in the corner here, so they're off centre. There's a great contrast between the lightest value and the darkest value, and there's complementary colours, the red against the green. But let's not stop there. We then should think about, could it look any better, any different? When we crop it in a little bit closer, we're getting a lot more interest in the shadowed area there. It's taken from a slightly different angle, as you can see when you compare them. So when you're setting up a still life, just play with a few different things. So that's the apples. Put those out of the way. Here's some tomatoes. Now just tomatoes. They're red, orange highlights, and they've got some green stems. So that's interesting enough. But how about you crop them off somewhat here? I've put them in a wire basket, and I've put them on my bench top, which is a much brighter green than that, but because it's where the window is, the light's coming through and making it a very pale bluey green. And so we've got interesting contrasts of shapes, and they're coming in at a lovely angle round here and kind of splitting the space, but in a good way. And we've got these very interesting shadows all on the bench. Makes a great painting. But again, we could try a different composition, and here it's cropped in the portrait format and concentrating the shadows down here, and we're getting a different view of the tomatoes. We're seeing more of the green, which will look great against the red tomatoes. So two different ways we could do the tomatoes. How about some lemons? We'll obviously put those lemons on a blue background, and that looks great, but then you can turn them around and make them go the other way. When we put those two side by side, you can see that in these two examples, all I've done is change the direction of that lemon so that we're getting a different directional shape there. So you can play around with them. On this one also, I've taken this one straight overhead, not any shadows to be seen really, just a few little bits of shadow on that side. But here there's a lot of shadows, so shadows will make your still lifes really interesting. Some pears, they look quite good on that black background. They've got the reds and the yellows and the greens, and I've got those pears going in a lovely sort of cyclical shape, the stems coming out in different directions, and it gives you this circular feeling to it. But to make it more interesting even, I could put them on a plate with some very linear shapes on it, so that we've got the contrast between the colours, and the colours of the plate reflect the colours of the pears. The pears are now shaped in a different direction. Some of them are overlapping, and then there's one out here on its own, and the angles of the plate are pointing in different directions to the corners of the painting. So either one of those would be a very effective painting composition. So don't just go for the obvious. Set up your still life, play around with a bit, take some photos, and then look for a really good composition. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed the quick lesson we just had, and hope you join me next time. Bye for now.